to another live witches chat and/or witches chat. If you haven't already, subscribe to my YouTube page. So we're actually going to talk about a lot of things that's currently been going on in the witchy community. Um, and there's been like a lot. Also, welcome to the first day of this week. This is going to be a very busy week. Actually, so far, this entire month so far has been extremely busy. Um, we're going to be celebrating the full moon on the 17th. So that's exciting. That's going to be also the day that I actually finish the community candle that I started at the beginning of this month. I burned it on the new moon, and I will finish burning it on the full moon. And then I have a couple spells to do. Also, remember, you have until the 17th before my prices on my readings change. With that being said, hi, hello, I'm Fire Lotus. I've been doing these for like 3 or 4 years now. If you don't know already, I have a Discord. You should totally follow it. TikTok, Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, all this stuff. Okay, so let's talk. So, we all heard about the blacklist and why it is a bad idea. But a more interesting conversation has recently started, or at least came to my attention, that we need to talk about. I'm also going to be talking about ancestral magic and tips on how to connect to your ancestors. Here recently, and before I get into what I'm about to talk about, I want to explain the definition of what an egregore is. An egregore is a belief of a concept of basically a group consciousness and or a single practitioner and or witch can create an entity that does not have a physical body. Just woke up and joining you. Oh, I hope you have a great day. Yeah, that's what an egregore is. Basically, anybody can create it as long as you know how to work with energy. And then this, from my understanding, an egregore will survive, but you have to feed it. And then normally it has at least one task that it has to do. It will stay alive until that task is done, and or depending on how long you feed it and how much you feed it. What you feed it is depending on the creator. There has been this kind of conversation starting that I'm gonna say a newer type of practitioner. We seriously need to come up with a term for that. But like the newer TikTokers, they're using songs as egregores. They're saying that these songs are egregores. And it wasn't until somebody commented on a video that actually kind of makes sense. Now, what I mean by this is there are certain, if you're not on TikTok, or I'm about to explain, there are certain audios. It's kind of like creating your own poltergeist type thing. Exactly, yes, exactly that. Honestly, yes. But there are these certain songs, whether they're actual songs, whether it's sounds, whether it's mantras, that people believe that if you create a video and save it into your drafts, you'll instantly come into money, or you'll basically manifest your dreams. I've used the sounds multiple times, but at the same time, I am a business owner. So, like, obviously, hello. But thinking about it, primarily 2022, I've been seeing a lot of videos where people are acting like 2022 is a conscious thing. It's a joke, but they're also theoretically on a conscious level turning 2022 into an egregore. Because now you're having hundreds of thousands of millions of people direct this saying, 2021, it needs to stop. It's taking this person away. It's taking this person away. And I'm like, you're actually turning it into an egregore. You are turning a year into a living, breathing, conscious being. Well, not really living or breathing, but consciousness. And it's interesting because, like, this is also why witchcraft is so fucking complex, because there's also a discussion, thanks to fucking Trisha Paytas, who made a video and was like, basically people are taking it as like, why are you hating on her? Intention's everything. I hate to tell y'all this. Intention is not everything in the craft. That is part of this new age spiritual thing. And it's not. That would be like me saying, the perfect example people have been using, you can't go out and get a poisonous plant and use it in a potion to heal. Or egregores, is that how you spell it? Yes, there are 2 different ways to spell it, but yes, that's how I spell it. And then, honestly, here's a trick or a tip that I use for anybody who has issues. Hello, has any issues with spelling things. I use Google. Now, what I mean by that is I'll use Google Speech to, like, the word that I'm trying to spell, obviously because I can't spell it, so I can't look it up. I'll use it in a sentence and say it to Google, and Google will bring it up, and then I'll just copy and paste that word. But yes, an egregore. And it is basically, like somebody said, it's like creating your own poltergeist. And depending on how complex you create it is depending on what it can do. Originally, when I was coming up and I was practicing, like, this whole back and forth with people hexing each other, we didn't do that back then. We just created an egregore and we'd send that, or a fetch. Depending on the practice, it would also be known as a fetch. But it's just, like, with Trisha Paytas, she answered it too. Somebody, because I went on her profile, because I don't stitch her shit. I don't stitch her shit. I don't use her audios. She made this audio and she's like, basically it was along the lines of, like, I am rubber, you are glue, but she's like, I did a protection spell, so all these hating comments won't affect me at all. Obviously, she's fucking trolling, and in some aspects, she may legit, genuine be interested in it. And I made a few videos on her, and then I took them down because I started thinking about it. I'm like, wait, yes, we know, Trish, she's problematic, but she answered this in a video response saying that she was a personality on the internet. There's no canceling a personality, which is true. She knows by now that doing most controversial shits, it's that saying where there's no such thing as bad publicity. Because if it's bad or negative, you're still being talked about. Your shit's still being shared, right? I've made multiple videos that people literally thought I was dumb. Like, recently I made a video stitching it, and I'm like, we just haven't checked behind the sun. And all the fucking comments in there, most of them were, you do realize, like, there's no behind the sun. They didn't understand what I meant, but my actual community did. And the reason I stated that is because the asteroid that almost actually hit us last year in December, that sounds so weird, scientists said that it came behind the moon, came from behind the sun. What they meant was it was a part of our galaxy, our universe, that we do not have satellites there, so we did not see it coming towards us. It was a blind spot. That's what I meant. And everybody's like, well, we go around the sun. Duh, I understand this, but there are still blind spots in our space, in our actual little, oh my god, my brain just went, almost that atmosphere. But our solar system, there are blind spots. The James Webb telescope that was just launched, it's actually going to where I said it was a blind spot or behind the sun. It's going over there due to the temperatures and stuff. It's going to a part of our solar system that we do not yet have satellites or anything like that there due to the fact of the temperature that it has to be. But now I'm fucking going all over the place. Anyways, back to what I was talking about, Trisha Paytas. She actually very well could be interested in witchcraft and Wicca. Is she? I don't really know, but it's so funny to me because all these people are like, you know, they're bashing her, they're not, you know, don't support her, but yet you're stitching her videos. You're using her sound that went currently viral. You're using it, which means anything under her name that falls under anything that does with Trish, it's making her money. And it just, it boggles me because I had somebody the other day ask me, like the problem is with this witchcraft and spirituality. Like, I recently, my partner joined TikTok. Big mistake on my part because now he understands why you can literally scroll like 8 hours away. But I went to try to help this person out, and I'm not talking bad about them, but could an egregore be made like in your dreams? I feel like I do more magic stuff in my dreams. Theoretically, yes. And the reason that I state that, and this is not talked about enough, Christopher Penczak's books, and if y'all been watching this, I know I say that name a lot. One day I will be able to interview him. I'm manifesting this. But he teaches you how to do magic in your mind. He teaches you to make a mindscape, basically, your own inner temple. You can do the same thing with that with dreams. And the reason I say yes to this is because, for one, I do mindscaping. There are a lot of times I'm doing magic where I'm not using any physical items. It's all up here. But there's another technique that I do because I do have ADHD. I talk about it a lot. With that, sometimes it's extremely hard to do like the mindfulness meditation. And what I mean by mindfulness is to like be here in the now and try to like quiet our brains. My brain don't work that way. So I was like, how can I do this? How can I find a way that working with my ADHD, I can still go into one of those meditative states? Because a lot of people get meditation confused when it involves witchcraft. A lot of the times when people's like, oh, I'm meditating, what's the reason? A lot of people, one of the main reasons they teach meditation in witchcraft is, yes, it does help you center and focus your mind, because when doing magic, depending on the type of magic, you're not going to want your emotions to be all over the place. Although at the same time, emotional magic is very, very powerful. But it's also to visualize. And yes, we all recently found out some people cannot visualize, but it's to help you visualize. The better you can visualize something, and this is with any spell, it would almost be like, you know how we had the, at one point, there was this huge movement to create dream boards you're manifesting. That's what spells were supposed to be. Practitioners are supposed to sit down, and as they're working on building the spell, before they do it, the ultimate goal of that, besides pushing and raising the energy outward, is to actually, in your mind, see how that spell has already worked out. It's just like if you're planning a cross-country road trip, you're not randomly going to jump in the car one day and grab a map and just go into it blindly. No, what are you going to do? You're going to map out everything and pick the grand vacation, the grand finale of it. That's what spell work is. So, translating that to with the ADHD thing, I learned that there is a type of sleep that you can go into. I have always called it Twilight Sleep. And it's that moment to where you're not fully awake, but you're not fully asleep. You're in between, which means you're dreaming, but you can also hear everything that's currently going on around you. I call it twilight napping or twilight meditation. So what I'll do is I'll set my timer. Interesting fact with this as well. When you go to lay down to take a nap, only take a 30 to 35 minute nap. If you go anywhere more than 45 minutes, you're going to wind up going into a dream state or one of the dream states. And then if you interrupt that, you're going to wake up more tired than you were before. So I set a timer for 45 minutes on my phone, giving me 10 to 15 minutes to get in that position. I wear a blindfold. And I did this by accident until I realized what I was doing. If you've been following me for a while, you also know that I have what is known as second sight. Not as in I have premonitions, as much as I can project my sight outward. So basically, when I have my blindfold on, I can literally activate my third eye and I see things, except for it's not in color, it's in black and white. So when I started doing this twilight meditation, I started vividly seeing images, not in my mind, but using my third eye. And it's so weird too, because the most times that I do it, my baby described that feeling as if her dreams had an Enchron and can hear real life sounds through that. I call it twilight sleeping because it's a mixture between your, like I said, it's like your mind's half asleep, but your body's fully aware of what's going on. They also actually do it as a medical procedure too. They'll put you in a twilight sleep, which is basically you're aware of everything that's going on. You just can't consciously feel pain. Which it also depends on the procedure you're doing. But through this, and this is something I still haven't figured out what it is, it's always like there's a planchette, like it goes to like a spirit board, except for there's an old school map, and it's like constantly moving, and it's never actually locked in on. And then through that, if I do fall asleep, I set my intentions, or basically send out a message, hey, I need to meet up with my spirit guides. And we actually have a dream location of every time that I've met up with them. It's like an old school diner. So if I fall asleep during that meditation and I'm in a diner, the people that I'm talking to, they're my spirit guides. And then here recently, I've been doing shadow work in my sleep without me wanting to. So that's a new interesting development. But through that, yes, you can you can do magic in your dreams. It just takes work, and that would fall under the terms of lucid dreaming. And you can actually train yourself how to lucid dream. Like I've said before, if you have tattoos or if you have jewelry on, throughout the day, look down and touch that object and verbally say, I am awake. Like move around, fidget it, I'm awake. Same with your tattoos or any type of jewelry. And then when you go to sleep, and then when you walk in and out of a room, look up at the light switch and turn it on and turn it off and say, I am awake. You're going to do this repetitively for like months. And eventually what winds up happening is you're training your brain to where when you're asleep, if you walk into a room and the light switches don't work, light switches are not supposed to work in dreams. Or if you look down and your brain notices that your like tattoo or jewelry's not there, it'll trigger yourself to wake up but still be asleep, therefore giving you complete control of your dreams. It's a really, really cool technique. Like I said, it's just like what I'm about to talk about now, which is the spiritual challenge, aka how to talk to your ancestors. Because I made a video about what it's like. It's Stitch. It blew the fuck up though. But basically, it's like when your ancestor randomly shows up 400 years, like she's 400-year-old ancestor and shows up and is like, you're breaking the family cycle that I should have done 300 years ago. I stitched that and explained me working with my ancestors. These are some things you're going to want to know before you even start this. Use I'm awake or going alone with the flow of a dream. Oh, cool. I'm actually, that would work too, actually. But these are the most common questions that I get and/or comments that I get with working with your ancestors. It does not matter if you are white. It does not matter your race and/or color. It doesn't matter. If you don't want to work with your ancestors, by all means, don't work with your ancestors. But with that being said, if you're anything like my family, Southern family, it's like a surprise, motherfucker. It really is. But when I started working with my ancestors, I've already explained this. It led from a psychic reading that they were reaching out to me and I needed to reach out to them. For one, be very careful, and this is just magic in general, but when it comes to your ancestors, be very careful with how you word things. We all know the sink incident that I had. Where I was like, I want to get closer to you. Well, you know what? We're going to break your sink, so you got to wash your dishes, and you got to travel to go wash your dishes. I've had other people do the same thing, and so some of the most hilarious, petty shit has happened for you to physically get to where you could basically relive what your ancestors were doing. With that being said, you want to do shadow work? Ask your ancestors what type. How do you know if it's ancestors is what I've always wanted to know. Okay, so very good question as well. So with me, it's kind of just a familiar feeling, but with me, it's honestly, I just know. What I mean by that is like, it'll be like, say, my grandmother will send me something or try to tell me something. It's like, I'll get that random thought, hey, it's Nanny. Your grandmother, and then I'll get something after that. Like last night, me and my partner we just got back from running to the store, and there's been some health issues with my father-in-law, and his mom, my partner's mom, is with us, and she is very, 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 very intense. We'll say that much. I love her to death though, and I started arguing with her. And my partner's like, who the fuck are you talking to? And I was like, your mother. She's being very, very, very insistent and loud. And my partner's like, yeah, that sounds like her. But normally before an ancestor comes through, I'll kind of get a thought of who it is. But it was also when I first started this, I didn't get like messages in my mind as much as random phantom scents would randomly follow me. The very first one was this really, really like freshly ground, dark ground coffee, and it was freshly brewed. And I was like, who the fuck was that? I found out it was one of my grandparents. Cigarettes, which, I mean, yes, I smoke, but, you know, if you're a smoker, you understand menthol cigarettes have a different smell than another cigarettes. Phantom scents of weed, marijuana, that would be my Aunt Tammy. She was a huge pothead just like I am. And then other times it'll be like, you'll hear a song, and that song will remind you of an ancestor, or you'll see an animal or a symbol, and it'll be associated with an ancestor. Always remember, with deity work, ancestor work, spirit guide work, whatever you're working with, they're not going to send you a message that our brains cannot incorporate and or interpret, if that makes any sense. But a lot of the questions that I get, obviously, you know, what happens if I'm adopted? What happens if I know absolutely nothing of my family? It's okay. And I'm about to explain why. What happens if my family was all Christian? It's completely okay. The reason this is because this is where it gets slightly complicated. I personally believe in my personal craft that we do not carry the same belief, all of this stuff that we collect as in our thoughts, our personality, and stuff like that. Some of that necessarily doesn't cross over, as in a lot of Christians, depending on how they are, if they're a hypocristian, you know, fiery brimstone, shit like that. I've talked to my grandmother, I've talked to my Aunt Tammy as they've passed over, and they were like, holy shit, were we wrong? It's okay to be gay. It's okay to live your lifestyle. That's not the fact for everybody, though. I've also met spirits that they have fully kept their personalities when crossing over, and that's okay. What happens if I've had trauma? Is there a way to make sure you don't interact with ancestors who were bullies on Earth? Yes. Just straight up say that. I've had multiple family members that I've had trauma with, and I let my other ancestors know. Say, random name, Uncle Dave. Uncle Dave, nowhere. Do not let that motherfucker come near me. He won't. Any ancestors were bullies or any ancestors you do not want to work with, all you have to do is verbally say that. Now, this leads into why I say it's a 30-day challenge. Okay, so when back in the day when we still had landlines, we had what? We had phone books. Why? Because unless you remember a phone number, you can't randomly just pick up the phone and say 1-800-GHOST. So, with that being said, when I came up with the 30-day challenge, which is basically spending 5 to 10 minutes, 5 to 10 minutes every day, it does not matter what the time is. I normally do it in the morning time with my coffee or like midday. And you're going to sit down alone in solitude, and it can be inside, outside, it doesn't matter. It can be in your car, it does not matter. It can be in the bathroom, on break, at work, it doesn't matter. Sit down and talk to your ancestors just like they are right here, like we're talking right now. Now, with this, you're probably not going to get a response instantly. But for one, these are the things that it does. For one, it shows your ancestors that you are wanting to reach out to them because they're probably already wanting to reach out with you. On top of that, what you're going to be doing in this process is figuring out a way of communication. Thank you. But you're going to be figuring out a way of communication. So what I mean by that is you're the landline. They've got to figure out how to relay this message to you, whether that's sense, whether that's sounds, dreams, visions, all of this stuff. So the longer you do this, the easier it is for you to receive those messages that they're sending you. And a lot of the times, due to the fact that I have claircognition, which means just knowing, I kind of just know things. It kind of comes to me. And the more you do this, you're going to be able to separate your thoughts from the thought process of a spirit or something like that. It's the same process of me walking into a store and picking up a bottle of fingernail polish and saying, oh, Hakate wants this. That's what we mean by your ancestors or like your deities wanted this. You'll pick it up and the first thought will be the deity that you're working with or a specific ancestor. That's what we mean by that, not what they're showing online. They do not visually pop in unless you have like vision or the sight of vision. But it can be extremely powerful. They will call you the fuck out. Like in the video that I was talking about earlier, I was like, you want to do real shadow work? Ask your ancestors on what aspect they want you to work on. You're going to be crying on the floor afterwards. With that being said, though, what do we mean by breaking cycles or breaking generational curses? I grew up in a kind of stereotypical Southern family, deep South Southern family. So alcoholism, abuse, drinking, drugs, all this other shit. I'm the only family member right now, knock on fucking wood, from my direct family, as in my mother, my father, my grandparents, my aunt and uncle, out of 4 kids, aka the grandkids, I am the only one that has not been to prison. I've only got arrested once, and that was for marijuana charges. Misdemeanor is no longer on my record, at all. I was 18. Every other one is either A, in federal prison, and or just got arrested for being let out, earlier last year. So what I mean by this is my current family, problems and trauma are abuse and drugs. also not actually dealing with childhood trauma and burying it deep down inside and then eventually growing up and, well, losing control. So with that being said, I'm one of the only ones that I looked at my brother and my cousins, not as role models growing up. I looked at them as, okay, life lesson of what not to do. So instead of following in their footsteps, I said, wait, hold on. Nope, we're not going to do this. No. No. A week in jail was all I needed. I get my shit together. Do I have my shit fully together? No, but I'm working on that. So you are breaking a family cycle of addiction. Yes, exactly. I am breaking that cycle of addiction. Drinking, that's an ongoing battle. But yes, those are what we mean by breaking those generational curses. Another generational thing, which I've also broke, the females in my family have really, really shitty luck with men. And they keep going back with that. I broke that with the partner that I'm with now. It's basically looking back at not just you, but also your parents and your grandparents and all the cycles that if you were to ask older family members, were they cycles? And they say, yes, that's what we mean by generational curses. Now, people have also took that with mental illnesses. How to break that curse is to actually admit that you do have a mental illness and seeking out and trying to get help for it versus old school Southern are like, no, it's okay. You're just going to have to push through this and just work. That's breaking a generational curse. Hello. But yeah, and they're not fun at all. I also take that as ancestral federation. What I mean by that, I'm a Caucasian, so obviously at some point in time, we had slave owners, stuff like that. Another way to do that without making something about race, because I don't talk about race on TikTok, because it never goes anywhere. What I mean by that is recognizing, oh, okay, so my family members were extremely, extremely homophobic and extremely racist at certain areas during their life due to the fact that's how they were taught. Me realizing, let's not act like that and or have that mindscape, thus I am breaking another cycle. Me leaving the church, breaking another cycle. Now, do I actually know of any actual openly and practicing family members as of witchcraft and magic? No, but you also have to realize a lot of my family is from the Appalachian mountain range, which means they do magic every day. They just don't consider it magic. But yeah, that's all breaking the generational curses are. Breaking addiction, breaking drinking, and whether that's addiction to drugs, addiction to all different types of things, it's breaking that cycle. Another easier example, if you were that person when you got old enough and you left your small town and never went back, that's also breaking a generational curse. That's not staying in the same place your entire life and just becoming, and there's nothing wrong with that, trust me. If I could go back and have a normal childhood to where like I was born and raised and just grew up in one area, it'd be amazing. But I also love the fact that I've moved literally almost down a straight line in the state of Alabama, all the way to the point now I live in Florida. And then it's also funny because a lot of people don't understand this. When you get into a very, very serious relationship, like a romantic one, whether your partner believes in it or not, their ancestor, you kind of just get mixed. And what I mean by that is my partner's also breaking generational curses without him even realizing it, but he's doing it. Actually here recently he came to me and he's like, I think I'm going crazy. And I'm like, why? And he's like, he explained to me he's starting to kind of open up with his abilities, but he's ignoring it. And I was like, you don't do that. When spirit calls to you to like answer to the witchcraft calling and or practitioner calling and or psychic or whatever, you don't ignore it because it's going to get worse until it's going to get louder and louder and louder and louder and louder until basically you don't see or hear anything else but that. Trust me, I know. I've been doing this for 18 years, and I've tried walking away multiple times, and the following day, I'm back at my altar. But a lot of people online make it seem more mysterious. It's really not. Like, there are some practitioners, and I don't know, I wish I could see the documentation. There are some practitioners that are like, my great, 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 whatever was a witch. Okay, that doesn't make you a witch. And what I mean by that was there is a such thing as natural witches, just like there are such things as people who pick up a pen and become fucking Picasso overnight. Um, we just don't talk about that because it makes other people feel bad. That's not what I'm saying. What I mean by that is we're in tune with magic. Does that mean does that make us better than everybody else? No, we're still learning, we're still growing. Trust me, being a psychic or having gifts, does not come with an instruction book. Um, like I can read oracle cards really, really well. But can I read myself? No. Can I predict shit that's gonna happen in life? Yes. Do I know when I'm doing it? No. Which is actually a question my partner. He's like, "How do you always just know these things?" I was like, I just know." Does that mean and it sucks because if like you ever, because when I was younger, I actually had full on premonitions. As I got older, they kind of stopped. But do you know what it's like to be able to dream and that one dream comes true and then now after that every single other dream you have, good or bad, you're like, wait, do I remember this because it's going to come true, or do I remember this because, well, I remember this dream? It's very confusing, trust me, and irritating as fuck. um but we're also moving into this weird area where, and I'm calling myself out with this as well, where like we're hopping on the internet saying that we are these magical beings, you know, we can do anything we want, theoretically do anything we want. And then at the same time, have you ever just known something and then others just refuse to listen to you to take? Yes. Oh my God. Yes. Holy shit. I have so many stories. My partner was one of them. When we first got together, I tell anybody that I'm dating, like, look, I can do some weird shit, okay? Um, but he was fighting his own little demons, and I knew. There was one point with his dad. I freaked him the fuck out because incidents happened and like he left. And I'd made a comment of like, you need to go ahead and go now because it's getting dark and you can't see that much. You don't want to be, you know, hit a deer. He hit a deer, a dog, and a buzzard. That day, that night going home, he hit a deer and a dog. The dog's okay. I don't know about the deer. And on the way back from that, the following day, he hit a fucking buzzard. Recently, actually, I'd mentioned, because if you know the weird circumstances that we have going on here at my house, but, he went over to his wife's house and I was like, you need to be careful because she works out in public. She's sick right now. We don't know if it's COVID, but she is sick. And my partner looked at me when he got that text message and he goes, holy shit, you were right. And I was like, about what? And he goes, you said that they needed to watch it to make sure he didn't get sick. So now he's in that complex thing where if he comes over here, he could get my partner sick. And my partner's already had it twice. And with that, loss of money, loss of, you know, him not being able to go to work, no hours. So yes, a lot of times I said it to my mother so many fucking times it's not even funny. My grandmother was the only time I never had an experience like that. But there was a lot of times she would come to me and she's like, so what do you think about this situation? I would tell her what I thought. It came true. It's just slightly annoying because like I haven't honed it in to where I can do it at will. But yeah, I've done it a lot of the times. And I'll tell everybody, I'm like, look, I'm not trying to be a smartass, but this and this is going to happen. You're like, how do you know this? See what happens. Boom, it happens. Now, with that being said, have there been a lot of things that I've called that did not go like that? Yes, 100%. And that's the tricky part. The tricky part is learning, for one, how to distinguish and separate anxiety from what you're trying to feel. And then the messages you're interpreting, and then also interpreting your own thoughts from the divine thought is what I'll call it. It can be extremely tricky. Whoops. And it changes. It will change as you get older. And what I mean by that is depending on how much stress one week is, one day is. Do you think ancestors and psychic abilities can lead us to witch ley lines and healings and pure? Possibly. For one, yes. There's also maps that you can look up from the ley lines that we're aware of. But I do believe that there is a link there can be what I used to call a psychic gene. And what's very interesting about that is because since I've moved and been all over the place, I've met a lot of interesting people. One of them being the seventh son of a seventh son. Legit seventh son of a seventh son. And then he turned around and had 7 kids. So seventh son of a seventh son of a seventh son. And that seventh child, being the youngest one, was extremely gifted for his age. But with that being said, a lot of the times what winds up happening, which is really interesting because I don't know what causes it, it skips a generation or even 2 generations, which means your great-grandparents or your grandparents may have an ability, but it skips your parents and then you get the ability. Like my mom, one of the short times she came and lived with us, I realized that she has some of the same things I do. It's just she doesn't hone it in. She's had deja vus before. And yes, I do believe the type of deja vu that I'm talking about, because I don't know another term for it, I do believe that it is part of having a psychic gift. Because when I have a deja vu, it's not, oh, wow, I've done this before. No, it's, oh, shit, I dreamed this. And as soon as it happens, it triggers my dream. So I'll rehab that dream in my head. And it's only for a few seconds, for a couple of movements. It'd be like me doing this right here. That would be a deja vu. And I'll say it. And then I also used to believe that when you have deja vus, it was the universe saying, hey, you were on the right course, continue going. I don't believe that now. I just believe that it's the universe or like spider senses saying, hey, pay attention to what's about to happen next. Because whether you accept them or even work with them, your ancestors and spirit guides, they're constantly around you. They are constantly doing things for you, whether that is, we've all had those moments where like, oh, I had that happen to me before too. Yep. It's called, there are actually 3 types of deja vus, and I'll repost it on here as a short because I have it saved on my phone of this one guy. He's no longer doing TikToks, but he was fucking amazing with it because there is it's like presque vu. No, that's presque vu is tongue-tied. There's deja vu. I can't pronounce the words properly, but there's what I just said. There's the dreaming of it. There is the getting stuck in a time loop, which I've also done. Not fun whatsoever. And then there's also that moment where you're like, your brain is like, holy shit, I've done this before. And it actually was, whether you've had that conversation, whether you've walked in the same room with the same thought. Our bodies are very, very weird and interesting. And science is only just now fully catching up to that. And that's what makes me so excited about it, because think about it. Our brains are so complex that we fully do not understand how they work, right? Just recently in the past 5 to 10 years, we've been able to 3D map our brain in a way neurologically that we've never done before. And when we did it, we were like, oh my God, it's a computer, right? Our bodies are so delicate that a single frequency can shut our brains down. A single frequency can cause you vivid, horrifying nightmares, all because you listen to a frequency, a hertz. Certain hertz can alter our minds. Whether you go up or whether you go down. That's insane. Because at the same time, you know, we do everything that we do, and like everybody has a different pain tolerance. There was one time I was at my aunt's. Is a time loop similar to Groundhog Day or a loop from hell in the Lucifer TV show? Kind of, yes. It's like Groundhog Day. It would be like, some people have said that they've had a full 24 hours of it, but it's more, to me, it's like certain, like say 20 seconds, but it's like it kind of loops over and over again. And they do suck. Trust me, they suck. Because especially realizing it and then breaking it. Which is also funny because all of us could be experiencing a Groundhog Day and we would never know it. All it takes is one person to wake up. There's another theory that I just learned, and I don't know the name of it, but it was a TikTok, and it's like, there's this philosophical concept that you can't prove to another person that you are consciousness on the same level that they are. So at the end of the day, how many people are actually conscious that they are living? See what I mean? So like, and the reason that blows my mind is because it's like saying that you yourself are the creator of your own life. due to the fact that it's true. If I walk up to a stranger and I'm like, prove to me you are conscious, they're not going to be able to do that on a level that I see my consciousness is. Which is interesting because, like, and what started that, what sparked that was there was this guy in, what was it? Was it a plane station? I think it was a plane, like he was getting onto a plane and he was looking at all the people and he's like, there's no way all these people are real. There's another theory that I also love that's like a game, which is when you are inside a room, everything outside is blank until you walk out of that room when the map is created. How many conscious and irritating like a robot in the Matrix? Exactly. And like some of the greatest minds that are still alive right now, they've even stated that the way that humans are evolving on a way, and what I mean by this is, okay, think about the early 90s, right? The end of the early 90s, we were still walking around with phones like this, right? And then Y2K happened, and for the people that don't know what Y2K is, they basically thought computers were going to come alive and kill everybody. In reality, it was the original coding that they had was like X1, X001, and basically was about to hit 0. So they thought either A, all the computers were going to crash, or B, it was going to wake up and they were all going to kill us, and then, what do you know? 2000, the first day of 2000, nothing happened. So they had to redo that. But we went in a 10-year span, we went from holding around something like this to the cell phones that we're on now. We don't understand it. We made such a big technological leap that it doesn't, we've never seen it. We've never seen it so far in evolutional history. So what they hypothesized from that one moment, that key step moment, is if time is what we think it is, which is it's constantly going, that means that 100 to 2 to 1,000 years from now, somebody could have already created a simulation, and in their history class or something like that, we're basically Sims. And we kind of broke this, though, because of one thing. They always stated that a simulation could not create another simulation inside that simulation. In other words, a simulation could not create its own world. Yes, it's kind of like computer simulation theory. Exactly. And what's interesting is Mark Zuckerberg, I cannot believe I just said that, broke it. He proved to us that we were not in a simulation by creating the metaverse. Because what is the metaverse? It's a simulation of universe, basically, its own world. So therefore, we know now that we are not in a simulation. But we basically are the generation that created what will eventually be the simulation. But it's... And then there's this other theory that fucking sent me down a rabbit hole and a midlife crisis, which was, what if the asteroid that killed the dinosaurs, what if that's how we got to Earth? And it makes sense. Theoretically, it could be true as well. We were a very, very microscopic organism, and it took whatever the hell that asteroid did to Earth to create the perfect life forms that eventually we came from. And that would make us an alien. So, like, what if this planet was never meant for us, and it was only meant for whatever the fuck dinosaurs would eventually evolve into? Would our dreams instead be conscious or a simulation? Considered a simulation. Now, see, that's also an interesting fact, and I can talk about this for so long. I love this. I love these conversations, because some people also believe that if we were in a simulation, when we go to sleep, our dreams are us waking up in the actual physical reality. A lot of people also believe that our dreams are actually us going to a different dimension, living out our lives there, and then when they go to sleep, we wake up. So it's cool because with that, okay, and I talk about this a lot, and I'm so sorry if you've already heard this conversation. How we dream and why we dream. The very second we open our eyes, technically inside the womb, but more realistically outside the womb, our brains take in every single thing that we see, every face, everything. So here's one mind-blowing fact. With that being said, any person you have dreamed of, you have seen them in real life. Because again, our brains, like if we're walking through New York City on the busiest time of that day, all of those faces, whether you realize it or not, our brains have taken in. That's a very close to what I believe that we reality hop when we sleep and wake up. I also love that theory. I love all of these theories, actually, because it also makes life seem a little bit bigger than it actually is. But with that being said, you take in locations, faces, everything. And due to TikTok now, so you can literally in one flick be in Russia, flick again, and you're halfway across the world. Our brains record it. So when we go to sleep and we hit that dream state to where our brains start producing dreams, what's actually happening and the reason we dream is our subconscious puts together a video clip, we're going to say, like an old school video clip, right? It puts these images together to help you process what you went through that day or the day before emotionally. So you're working through all of your problems through your dreams, which is why, and due to one guy who like put a shit ton of questions together, we kind of understand dream interpretation a little bit. Like if you've ever had a dream that all your teeth fell out, you're extremely stressed and you feel like your life is out of control. But it's the dream aspect because of this. So what winds up happening is our brains put together this little movie slide and then it plays it like a movie, right? Well, what computers can do with AI, they can get 4 images and mix and morph those images together to create an entirely differently new image that has never been seen. I believe that for some people who have premonitions and or deja vus where they dream of the future, I believe in some moment, for some reason, your third eye is activated. And it does just that. It takes memories and pictures that we already have and mixes and morphs them together for a small clip of a future event. Now, that could also be tapped in and connected to the connected consciousness. Now, an interesting aspect of the connected consciousness is right now in the world on random locations, we have what is known as a random generating number, or a machine that randomly generates numbers due to the barometric pressure system that is currently over that machine, right? All over the world this is placed. Right before 9/11 happened on 9/11, about an hour before it actually happened, all of these machines that are randomly supposed to randomly generate random number sequences for no reason whatsoever, and scientists do not understand it, all synced up and started printing the exact same numbers. We have no idea why. And then boom, 9/11 happened. So it was very, very heavy because on natural disasters, not natural disasters, terrorists, I'm trying not, you know what I mean. Natural disasters and things like that. Exactly. I believe the Akasha Records are the connected consciousness. And that's why I got so much hate, because when I entered TikTok, I was like, by the way, you don't need to go to somebody to actually access your Akasha Records. They're your records, which means all you have to do is get there. Now, a lot of people believe the Akasha Records are this like library in this astral realm. I don't believe that. I believe it is the connected consciousness. So all those moments we're doing divinations, we are having these moments where we're getting psychic intuitions or we're getting downloads. It's us connecting to the Akasha Records. The Akasha Records, from my understanding, are everything that has ever happened, will ever happen, and could ever happen. So it is literally like a multiverse of multiverses of multiverses, which means there are some people believe that every action we have, there's an equal and opposite reaction. But they push that to the point where me deciding to go live right now, in another universe, there is a universe where I did not go live on YouTube. I believe that's the Akasha Records. And I've accessed them, as in when you go into meditations, when you go into trances to do past life regression, right? What are you doing? You're connecting to your higher self, which is the Akasha Records, the connected consciousness. And I link these to, it's very strange too, because on TikTok, these are still to date the lowest viewed videos I have, which are, it was a 6-part series on how I connected everything together. I connected tarot cards, I connected divinations, all to the connected consciousness. And it makes sense. And it did, for some reason, TikTok suppressed the fuck out of those videos. But yes, I do believe that the Akasha Records and the connected consciousness are the same. But with disasters like 9/11 and other disasters, whether they were natural or made by man, a lot of studies have been done, and a lot of people knew something. They woke up that day knowing something bad was going to happen, but didn't actually understand what it was. Glad I caught you here on the tube. Merry meet everyone, and blessed be, and merry meet. But a lot of people sensed that almost there was a disturbance in the force. They sensed that something was wrong. They didn't understand it though, and then boom, that happened. I had a moment like that where I had this horrible fucking sleep. Now, take in mind the school that I'm talking about, where I went to, my apartment complex was directly across the street from it. So I was like never late for work. But I had this dream that this fucking tornado came through and ripped through the school, and like everybody died. I woke up and I told my mom, and I was like, I'm not going to school today. Like, I'm sorry, I'm not doing it. I actually explained it to her, and she goes, fuck it, all right, one day's not gonna hurt. What I did not know was the day that I stayed out, who I considered a person I considered a good friend, who we'd recently had a falling out with, in PE, he had snapped. He had a lot of trouble areas at home. But he snapped, choked someone to the point where it took 2 coaches to get him to stop. Then he made a comment that he had a list in his backpack. Y'all know where that was going. Luckily, though, our school was smart, and they took him out right then and there. They called the cops. There was, in fact, a list in his bag, and I was on the bottom of that list. And apparently it was supposed to happen the prior day. When they found that list, he was arrested, for choking someone, but he was arrested, sent to alternative school, and he was barred from ever going back. So he literally had to get a tutor that would tutor him in the public library every day. But that was what I mean by that. I got a bad feeling. My brain interpreted it as a tornado. A tornado didn't happen, but there could have been a very, very, very bad accident like that. And it's extremely creepy. And everybody thought I almost got in trouble because I stayed out the day that it happened. And they associated me with him because I was the loner that also attracted other loners while I was in school. The last school that I went to, I fucked everybody up because we have this group at PE or break. And it was a bunch of I was in the 7th grade, I was in 8th grade. It was a bunch of 9th graders, 10th graders, 11th graders, and 12th graders. All these people that in normal circumstances would not be hanging out, we all hung out together. I had cheerleaders, I had the preppy people, I had so many people, and then I'm the emo kid. But they saw me associate with him. And they were like, I went to school the following day knowing nothing that had happened. And they're like, where the fuck were you yesterday? And I was like, I was sick. Why? What did I miss? I missed a lot. And I got called to the office. I had to talk to a therapist, not a therapist, but the school counselor, because they thought that I knew about it. And I was like, no. I lied, and I was like, I was sick, so I didn't come in. But yeah, moments like that. And I've had days where I'll look at my partner. There was one moment in particular, I'll never forget the look on his face, because I also predicted something as well. But that's too personal, but it's about our relationship. I looked at him and I was like, because back then I didn't understand the difference between anxiety and me actually picking up on something bad was going to happen. And I looked at him one day and I was like, I want this feeling to go away. And he's like, what do you mean? I was like, you know that feeling where you're about to get smacked with a Cat 4 hurricane and there's no stopping it. You're just going to have to deal with it until it's over. He goes, yeah. I was like, that's the feeling. Or my other favorite saying, I'm waiting for the shoe to drop. And a lot of people's like, well, what do you mean? And I'm like, I don't know. It just feels like you're expecting bad news, and every time your phone goes off, your heart drops. That's those feelings. And normally they're right. Whether it can be very, very small or very, very big, but they're normally right. I've called stuff that was going to happen at my partner's work and told him, I'm like, this is how it's going to play out. And he'd be like, no, it's not. He'd come home the next day and he's like, you were right. And I was like, I know I'm right. There are some things I'm right about. Other things I'm completely dead ass wrong about. But that feeling sounds like waiting for the wave crash. Exactly. That's the exact feeling. I've always said waiting for the shoe to drop. But yeah, that's the feeling. It's just it's this instinctual dread that something is going to go really, really bad. And before, I always thought it was anxiety. It's not anxiety. Anxiety is going to be in the chest unless you have like anxiety in the mind, then it's just going to be racing thoughts. Anxiety is going to be in the chest. Anything you get from your gut, that is your gut feeling, and you need to listen to it loudly. But yeah, and I do believe that everybody has these abilities. Whether they know it or not, and whether they have awoken them or not, is a completely different story. But we're all human. We all have a pineal gland. We all have a third eye. Just some of us ignore it, and that's perfectly okay. And then there are some of us that just naturally kind of falls into it. And my life has gotten 10 times more weirder. Yeah, no, I did growing up as a witch, what I thought it was going to be like, where I'm going to have demons flashing in and out of my house and I'm breaking glass all over the time. No, it's just normally a spirit or something like that pops in and it's like, hi. And I'm like, hi, how are you doing? Now the conversations I have are extremely weird, especially for the people that are hearing them outside of the conversation that I'm having. But another conversation that I wanted to have, and then I'll kind of probably going to end this because I do have a spell that I got to prep for. Actually, two things. We need to talk about cursing and hexing and, well, how do you definitively know? For one, if you think somebody has hexed you or cursed you, do divinations. And I do not mean just do a tarot spread. I mean do 50 fucking tarot spreads, get a reading from somebody else that you trust and or a complete stranger without mentioning that you think you're hexed or anything like that. That's also a great way to test people. If you're not really sure, just tell them that you have a situation that you're trying to deal with and see what the cards say. There's a reason. Because like if you come to me for a reading, that's why I ask about filtering ancestors, because I don't want hating Christian ancestors to contact. They won't. And believe it or not, some of those ancestors will not carry that Christian aspect of her. So they will not be hating on you. I've not gotten single hate from any of my ancestors. If anything, I got, oh shit, you were onto something. But yeah, just state that, you know, hey, I don't want to associate with so-and-so. And the other ancestors, excuse me, the other ancestors will not allow them to come in. And trust me, I have a lot of ancestors that I want nothing to do with, including my great-grandfather on my father's side. Want nothing to do with him. Haven't heard a peep from him. But we've all seen and I'm also going to tell you what I believe the best, what I do, my personal favorite is, haha, that's great, that, hey, you, we're onto something. Oh, I loved when I got that. I was like, I told you I wasn't fucking crazy. My Aunt Tammy thought I was a sun worshiper, and I was like, yes, Aunt Tammy. I go outside every day at 12 o'clock, and I blindly look into the sun and worship it. I was like, no, I don't worship the damn sun. Do I take energy from the sun? Yes, I do. But we've all seen the matches where you take two matches and you split, or you fucking light them and drop them in the water, and if they touch and or cross, that means you've been hexed. Great, I've been hexed. Who by? That's when divinations go into it. My favorite, though, I saw from Witch Bomb on TikTok. And if you're not subscribed to her, you totally should, because she gives out really good information. Her Facebook group is also amazing as well. But what you do is you get either a deck of playing cards or your tarot cards. You take out all the arcanas, the major arcanas, where you're only with the lower ones. And then what you're going to do is you're going to randomly shuffle them as much as possible, thinking, have I been hexed or cursed? And then you're going to make 3 piles. So you're going to flip out 10 cards in each pile, but you're going to stop when you get to an ace. Do the exact same thing with an actual deck of playing cards. You stop counting when an ace comes up. If you get only one pile that has an ace in it, that means that somebody's talking shit behind your back. That's it. If you get 2 piles with aces, that means that somebody is talking shit about you and somebody has thrown something your way, but you dealt with it. It's no longer affecting you. If you get 3 piles with 3 aces, it means that somebody's talking shit, somebody threw something, and the third one is basically saying it actually stuck and it is currently ongoing. Then that is when you cleanse, return to sender, whatever spell you want to do, cleanse, stuff like that. The issue that I'm starting to have with this is because I'm getting an influx of people, because before I actually take someone's money or exchange something, I need to know as much detailing as I can, especially when it comes to like an uncrossing, a banishing, or something like that. And an uncrossing, for the people that did not know, it's basically like a jinx removal. In layman's terms, a jinx removal. But I've had people come to me and they're like, well, I've gotten sick, I've lost my job. Okay, for one, mundane before magical. For two, check your birth chart. Get somebody to help you. There's Astro Matrix is a very good app. It breaks everything down very easily. But always look at your birth chart first. Because I can go from having a really, really great week to where all of a sudden I'll have shitty 3 days. And I don't automatically think, oh my God, somebody's hexed me. I'm like, wait, what planets? Planets affect us. Whether you know it or not, planets affect us. Depending on the placement, it could just be a bad week for you or a bad month, depending on how long that planetary placement is. Now, with that being said, after you've gotten validation that you have been hexed, what are you going to do? Are you going to cleanse yourself? Are you going to throw it back to them? It goes on to it. But the problem with all these hexing videos is there are some people that are constantly thinking they're hexed due to the anxiety that they have. I've done it before. My partner's basically, not physically, but basically had to slap me to get me to start out of it. First thing I would have thought of was, dang, it's karma. Exactly. There's karma spells is what I call them, where you're just kind of asking karma to assist you in slapping the fuck out of them. But now, if you think you're cursed and then you got 2 plants that were doing really, really great and then all of a sudden they just died, that's probably, and that's one thing I always say, if you can, get a single plant to have somewhere in your place. And if it randomly dies, to a witch, if your flowers and plants randomly die for no reason, you've been hexed. Whether that's stuck, that's 2 completely different things. But like I've said before, and a lot of people hate this, but it's true. If I walk up to a complete stranger with this fucking rock, whisper some woo-woo over it, hand it to them and say, you're fucking hexed. In reality, I handed you a rock, but what's going to happen? I planted that seed. That little seed is going to sit there, and then the next time they have some mundane bad luck thing happen, like they get a flat tire or something like that, they're going to be like, oh my God, I've been hexed. It's the curse. And then that seed's going to grow a little bit. And then how our brains are, we associate things with others. That little seed that I planted is going to go from a seed to a damn tree. And it's going to completely wreck their lives, but I did nothing of the sort. They self-hex themselves. And with clients like that, it's hard to explain to them, because if you have a client coming to you saying, you don't understand, all this bad shit has happened to me, for one, I'm not just going to take your money because no, but for two, if I've done divinations and I tell you I'm not seeing anything on my end, you can either take that or leave that, but they get really defensive about it. And I understand it on a personal level, I do. That would be like me telling my partner, hey, something's going to happen. He's like, nah, you're just crazy. And then it happens. I get it. But at the same time, it's TikTok, honestly. It's fucking TikTok, because all it takes is one big creator to make a video of, oh my God, I've been hexed, or somebody tried throwing something at me, or a flex video. And then 20 to 30 videos later, for the next 3 days, it's just hexapalooza. People are throwing shit left and right. Do I believe they're actually doing it? No. Hexing can be extremely complex and complicated. And a lot of things you're not talking about. On all spells, there needs to be an expiration date. The reason I'm saying that, and this does go with moral and ethics. But, yeah, Susie pissed me the fuck off. But do I want her life to be complete shit for the rest of her life? No. Put an expiration date on it. My favorite spells, though, for hexing and cursing are retribution spells. Because, and this is the reason why, everybody's throwing a hex. Do you honestly think a criminal, well, we're going to say a criminal, right? Do you think a criminal getting a slap on the wrist and let go is going to change them? No. Do you think if they spend 6 months to 4 years in prison, do you think it may change them? They're going to have a higher chance if they've learned their lesson. Throwing a hex at somebody, it's not teaching them a lesson. A retribution spell, depending on how it's worked, will repeat over and over and over again until that person learns, hey, you shouldn't do this. But everybody goes to hexing and baneful magic. No. Like, I've hexed somebody before with blessings. You heard me right. I've hexed somebody to have multiple different types of blessings happen. And it fucked them up more than their entire life going to shit. And that's what I'm saying. Yes, hexing can be cool. Hexing can be fun. But at the same time, like, there's one thing I did, and I wish I could undo it. So there was this weird entity on one of the trailer parks that's still standing to this day in Alabama. And I honestly, I don't know what it was. I don't necessarily think it was a human spirit. Let's just say that. And I bottled it. Yes, if you did not know that, there is a way that you can actually bottle entities, whether that's in a bottle, in a crystal, or something like that. I bottled it. I trapped it. I sealed it. And I have this box. Do you have a video on retribution spells? I would love to learn more about and how to do that. I don't. I will give you an example and where to find one at really quick. And then because you asked, I'll actually do a video on it. But my stepfather and me have never really gotten along at all. He's a very, very disrespectful piece of shit who disrespects my mom a lot. But she still puts up with him for some reason. Anyways, she was leaving him because she found out that he was cheating on him. The very first, I was about to ask if that would be weird. It was an egregore. No, I don't think it was an egregore. An egregore has to be created by another practitioner and or I say that. But no, I think it was just I would say a land spirit. Not really, it wasn't bad, let's just say. It was just very intense. So I bottled it. And I have this box. I still have a box. I redid it. Where any baneful anything that has any negative energy in it, I will put it in that box and either A, just keep it in there, or B, cleanse it while it's in there. Kind of like a hex box, basically. Because I've gotten a lot of, not gifts, but I've had people give me things that have really, really negative energy attached to it. So I put it in there, and it basically keeps it in the box. And he pissed me off because he was acting a fool when we were trying to get our stuff out. So I released the bitch without thinking. Shouldn't have done that. Because it stayed with him. Now, what I mean by this is he saw something that night in that trailer, and he's lived there longer than I had. That trailer wasn't haunted. So fast forward, like I didn't think anything of it. Fast forward, it was when I had to move back to Alabama to take care of my grandmother. I had to stay with them for a night. And I'll never forget this. I think it was then. It was either then or when me and my partner took a break. Anyways, I had to stay there for a night. And, you know, everything's going normal. I go to sleep as normal. Take in mind, I did not do a single fucking thing whatsoever magically or energetically. That night, the same night that I got there, my stepfather fucking woke up. And my cousin, or not cousin, nephew, was in the bed, so he saw it too. He goes, I saw a tall, dark figure appear at my bedroom door. He walked directly across the room, and he got to where my feet were at, and he turned around, and he stared at me. And then, I don't know what he did, but basically, he stood there for like 5 or 10 minutes, and then I think he walked into the wall and just disappeared, right? Take in mind, my stepfather's father was a Pentecostal preacher who is now retired. So they believe in that shit. We also have a family friend directly across the street who is also a preacher. He knows me very well. So Ronnie called him over there the following day. I just blasted my stepfather's name. I don't care. Anyways, he called him over there. And he goes, I think my mother, you know, wife's son has brought some witchcraft, some bad energy in this house. Because, you know, none of this happened until he got here. That man looked at my stepfather and he goes, for one, oh, wow, sounds like a shadow person to me. It was definitely something, but I think it was the thing that I released and it attached itself because he looked at him, the preacher looked at my stepfather and he goes, I know him and he doesn't do that. He doesn't mess with anything dark. I would be able to sense it. He does not. There's nothing dark about him whatsoever. And fucking he goes, for one, there are things called land spirits. And for two, maybe that spirit told you, need to tell you to, straighten your shit together. Like, get your shit together, stop being an asshole. Obviously, I'm paraphrasing here. The preacher didn't say that. But the preacher basically said that there are such things as land spirits, or it could have been the devil trying to get your attention. Needless to say, he won't fuck with me now. I didn't do anything before. I've never cast on him because I had this weird thing with married people. For the same reason I haven't helped my stepfather. I mean, my father-in-law. Because anything I do to the wife could possibly affect him. Because when you get married, you're basically entwining that energy together. Now, Retribution Spell, and the best one that I've ever used. Go to llewellyns.com, the book site. Go there, and they have a section where they update daily their spell a day almanacs. Go there and type in Retribution Hecate spell. I think that's how you do it. I'll post the link in the comments after this goes live, or live on my page. But what you do is you sit down. You don't have to fasten a Hecate altar. I do like to do this outside because you're supposed to do it at a crossroads, but you can make a crossroad in your front yard. So you're going to sit down and you're going to call upon Hecate by lighting a candle. Actually, 3 tea lights. You need 3 tea lights and 3 to 4 cloves of garlic. She loves garlic. And what you're going to do is you're going to light the candles and summon her, basically saying, hey, Hecate, I need you really quick. And you're going to explain the situation. Everything, as many details as possible. And then you're going to give the offering. There is an incantation you say, but it's basically stating, hey, here's the situation. I call upon you to do your justice. So what you're doing in this retribution spell is you're giving it unto Hecate to handle the situation. Now, there are other ones that I've created to where basically, like, all the drama that happened with that small business that I was working with, I had a list of magical people that I personally know in my personal life. I made a list of them. These are also people that I've suspected that were either talking shit behind my back and or they were trying to magically fuck with me. So I made this list, and I made this jar, and I stuck a couple of fun things in there, and the point of this was anybody on this list who was guilty and or was willingly and recently trying to fuck with me magically will have horrific nightmares until they reach out to me, until they contact me, and then it'll stop. The owner of that small business that I was talking about, the next day, reached out to me first thing that morning stating that they had had some horrifying, scary-ass nightmares. And then, boom, it was revealed. So, see, I could have hexed them. Why do that? I want you to tell me you fucked with me. Has Hecate or others ever been like, nah, you can handle yourself? Yes. I've had Hecate tell me that sometimes. I've even had my ancestors. I've done things that my ancestors were like, you know what? We ain't doing this. We're washing our hands with this situation. And when it comes to bite you in your ass, don't say we didn't warn you. And did it bite me in my ass? Yes, it did. Have there been some times where they just did not want anything to do with it and nothing really bad happened? Yes. Primarily, and most people do not know this, I don't like actual baneful magic. I would rather do a retribution spell for them to learn their lesson versus me hexing them and making their life shit. But also, and with that, if you make content, always remember, you don't know what another person's going through mentally. So making a video stating that you curse them and they wind up unaliving themselves, you don't want that. So please, we need to be nicer online. Humans are generally a decent species, most not all. Even in witchcraft, we need to practice kind and humanity. Hexing someone in kindness is instead of self-reliance. It's an incredible idea. Thank you. And yeah, and honestly, I will admit, it's not my full idea. If you want an amazing YouTube creator to where she has hundreds of videos out already, she's kind of like me to where, like, you can go to her for advice or ask questions any point in time. And she won't charge you. The only time she charges you is for, like, actual service and or ordering from her website where she makes her family makes everything by hand. Lady Grave Dancer here on YouTube. She was one of the first practitioners that I came across that actually does things like I do. And when you check out her profile, you'll understand. And I'm getting chills when I said that, which means in my life, that's spiritual truth. But she's the one that kind of, she made a video on it and she's like, I think it was her. Yeah, it was her. It was her, and there's also Conjure Kadia. She's really good too. They both made videos on it, and they're like, yeah, I can throw a hex, but they're not going to learn their lesson. That's just going to be a slap on the wrist with them. Makes them learn their lesson so they won't do it again. And I'm like, oh my god, that makes more sense. And boom. And I try, like I said, if somebody comes to me, that's the only, besides the manifestation jars that I do, that can get pricey on the size, like the biggest one that I have, that's like $100 due to the ingredients. But most of my other spell, like a cord cutting ceremony, is $35. Most of my spells range from like 25 up into like 50, except any type of baneful magic. Any type of baneful magic, depending on the working, gets a little bit more expensive. And the only reason that is for one, I have to do them all outside because my partner is extremely, extremely sensitive to baneful magic working. And then also, it's also putting my line on the risk because I've dealt with some people. I was doing baneful workings with someone, and what they did not tell me was the person that I was working on, come to find out, they were also a magical practitioner. And they actually did bitch slap me back. So trust me, if I ever sound like I'm flexing, I'm not. I've been bitch slapped multiple times before. How do you find out kind YouTube? I found you off my FYP on TikTok, and that felt like a lucky find. LOL. Are kind. The YouTubers that I watch, there's one who's no longer with us, but her account is still live and active, which is Tiptoe Chick. Mwah! I love all of her stuff. I rewatch her stuff. There's Tiptoe Chick, Lady Grave Dancer, Conjure Kadia. Now, she's not into witchcraft, obviously, Conjure, but she's got a lot of great things. Noah. Oh, what is his name? Actually, in the comments of this video, when I post it, because the live comments don't transfer over, there's going to be a top comment, and I'm going to post links to all the YouTubers that I follow. But normally how YouTube works, if you follow one or two practitioners, go to their profile and scroll over to community. I think it's community, and normally, depending on how they have it set up, they'll show you other practitioners that they also follow, and just kind of go from there. But with them, one of the reasons I love and I stand up for Lady Grave Dancer so much is because of all the information she has out. She has so many videos on magical oils, and she shows you that they're not as complex as people online portray them to be. They're not. Like, I'll be sharing a recipe very soon. Of course. I have a, infinity jar of, and I'm about to explain that, infinity jar of my healing oil. And my partner did not believe how well this shit works. And it's because of the prime ingredient. But the reason I call it infinity is because I've had this jar for about 10 years now. And it originally started with one oil, and then I'll basically just refresh it over and over again, and it gets more potent. But it's called a miracle oil, and I'm going to say this flower weird, but this is how I pronounce it. Calendrial. It's a yellow flower, and what's really cool about this is that flower in itself, when infused in oil and or just a fresh one rubbed on your skin, it speeds up the natural healing process that our cells do. So if you have a cut or a scrape or even acne, I've used it for acne as well, it actually speeds the healing process of it up. So once you have everything cleaned out and disinfected, wipe some on there. On top of that, it's olive oil. So it also can kind of help set a boundary up around it. But I have done proof. I've done pictures and videos, which I heal very fast anyways. When I had my hernia surgery, I had to return the following day, 24 hours later, to get a staple removed because my skin was healing around it. Hello. Oh, what was that? Hello, I'm super late. I watched the replay, but I hope everyone... hello! I don't know you, so I'm not answering you. Yeah, with the calendrial one, I'm a very, very... definitely stick with Fire Lotus. You will learn so much. I appreciate all the lessons and insight from Facebook and YouTube for sure. Warning, super coded. You go as well today. Oh, thank you! Is there a way to heal on the physical, emotional, spiritual, and quantum level? Oh, that's slightly more complicated and more complex. But oh, okay, yay. I thought that was you. I see your profile picture. I thought that was you. But with the calendula flower, I don't really like fool around, as in like play fool around with my partner. Because for the past 2 weeks I've accidentally hurt him. We were joking around with each other, and I threw a water bottle at him. It was supposed to hit his chest. It did not. He raised his hand, so it scratched it. It like rubbed him right there with like a plastic or like a rug burn. And due to the fact that it's on his face, it kept like the scab kept being picked because you're asleep, you scratch it. And I was like, just put some of this oil on there. He finally did it. 2 days later, it was completely healed. And then fast forward, I accidentally hit his nose with a bag that had like a pack of cigarettes in it, so it like clipped his nose. He put the oil in there. 2 days later, it was completely healed. It's literally all it is calendula. Now there are a couple other herbs that my secret, but yeah, any type of healing oil or healing balm. Thank you. Any type of healing oil, the best flower to start out with is calendula. You can also use it in a tea, but the oil in itself, mwah, chef's kisses, amazing. And then any oil, starter oils would be, you can use tea tree oil, you can use grapeseed oil, you can use olive oil. I've used olive oil. Shit, there's been some I use vegetable oil in. Not really healthy, but and then you just let them soak. But the jar that I have, it's 10 years old. That's just been replenished. So I call it the infinity jar. And one day there will actually be bottles that has, Lotus healing potion on it that will be sold. But yeah, making oils, they're not complicated. It's extremely easy. Now, it can be complex because there are some practitioners that will wait for certain planetary hours to fix them to where it also has that planetary mix in it. And then what I love doing with the teas is, with the oils, is I solar charge them. I agree, Derek. Fire Lotus feels like our own Harry Potter professional. Oh, thank you. But I love, like, on a hot, sunny day, just plopping the bitch out and watching it boil, because with the sun, it's soaking up all of that as well. It's just like with dew and the magical things with dew. But yeah, magical oils, and like I said, Lady Gravedancer, she's got tons of them on there, easy recipes. Like recently, somebody made this stitch to a video, and it was like, what is something you've only seen on TikTok? And the practitioner, no hate towards them because I actually like them. They're like money bowls. I have no idea where this comes from. My recipe for a money bowl, or how I create it, which yes, I already have a video up on it, came from Appalachia. It comes from Jake Richards' Backwoods Witchcraft book. Very, very simple to make. Get a bowl or a box. Mine's a little golden jewelry box. And lay down a thin layer of cornstarch, aka the cushion. You always want your money laying on a cushion. Lay the cornstarch down, and then basically put your change in there. You can add crystals for abundance, like emerald, ruby, and citrine, calcite, green calcite, and then cinnamon. Make your own money mix. I think I have a recipe on that as well. What I use in mine is I actually do shred up $1. Don't tell the U.S. government. But no, I shred up $1, and then green rice, dyed rice. If you're on our Discord, I also walked you through the process of how to do that. You can get rice. Rice in itself has its own properties, but you can add color magic to that. So a lot of in hoodoo, Southern Conjure, voodoo, actually multiple other practices as well, they use what is known as prosperity rice. Basically, it's dyed rice mixed with oils, and all you do is get long grain rice from the store. You can use food coloring. I, on the other hand, use paint. I'm very weird, I know. But I'll mix that around, and then you put your oven on the lowest setting possible, and then bake it for like 10 minutes. Basically, you're just re-drying it out, getting the wetness out, and then boom. Orange dyed rice is known as road opener or a blockbuster. You can do uncrossings with it. You can do road openers with it. It can also be used multiple other ways. You could literally create rainbow rice and use it as color magic. Very simple to make. But money magic, money powder would be a mixture, would be salt. And I do use a piece of this, which is, for money, I like to do green and bury it outside. And the last time I did that, I found a bunch of random dimes. Oh, I love that. But I use some of this, which is also, I gotta get another one because this one's kind of But, Rose of Jericho, I use some of this in it. A little bit of Spanish moss. A little bit of dirt from a bank. That is key. If you can get dirt from a bank, use it in your practice. If you can get dirt from a police station, use it in your practice. If you can get dirt from a courthouse, use it in your practice. And then I'll add, I'll get a cinnamon stick and break it up so there's little pieces of it. Citrine, I have a piece of a green citrine in there, and then I have a piece of emerald in there. And then put the money in there, put the herbs in there, and then you have your own powder, or a mixture of things that you sprinkle either on candles, so many other things. And that's what I made a point of it in one of my videos. How much dirt? Literally, it could be like that much. Like, imagine that being a pile of dirt. It does not have to be a lot whatsoever. And then if you want to take that and elevate it, if you can, instead of collecting dirt, collect dust. Dust from a church pew is extremely powerful. Dust from the steps of a courthouse and police station are extremely powerful. You may look weird. That's the only reason I haven't got it from the police station yet, because, well, it's not a small little police station. It's a big police station. But yeah, you can use that for if you go to college, or if you have a college near you, go collect dirt from that campus. That's scholar's dirt. There we go. But these are things that, like, due to how witch talk, and because I'm not going to say all other practitioners, so I'm going to say witch talk, we kind of get stuck in these boxes because they're only talking about the same damn things over and over again. When in reality, like, for example, if you wanted to do a spell to get more friends or to find more witchy friends locally, go to your metaphysical store if you can, or your bookstore. And if you can collect this without looking weird, do it. If not, straight up ask. Depending on who's working there, they may actually help. Collect cobwebs from those locations and bring them home and incorporate those cobwebs into your spell. Why are you doing this? Because after you do the spell, if you go to the store, hi, I've been with you for over 20 years. I've been with... Oh, very cool. Oh, what was that one? I use casino and lottery office dirt. Yes, I love that too. And one of my good friends with that, they work at a gas station. Pangea, if you see this, hi. But my friend Pangea actually did that and slightly modified that. If you live in a state where you have scratch-offs, save them and cut them up. Whether they win or lose, you have to think they hold the chances of winning $1,000. That can easily be incorporated into that. And I started to, because my partner who will randomly get some, and I chop them up. Anything can be used in your practice, but I like, and one of the main reasons I love the more folkloric or like folk magic ones is because they actually do. Like, for example, if you live in a state, because I did not know this, I did not know that Spanish moss only grows in southern states, to the point where they sell it online. That's crazy. But Spanish moss collected from a cemetery, extremely powerful. Spanish moss collected from a bank, extremely powerful. Why? Because not only does it have the property of the Spanish moss, but it also has the property of the bank, the casino, the church. All these things can be used in your practice. Marie Laveau, in the interview that we had, she has an entire altar from dirt all around the world that she works with. I'm slowly working that up. I recently, if you checked out my TikTok, my good friend who lived down here, but she moved to Pennsylvania, she actually sent me some dirt and other things from Pennsylvania, and there's actually moss on it that's still alive. But that can be used. You can tap into that and wind up practicing biolocation magic. What do I mean by this? say you want to work with the crossroads, but you do not have any accessible crossroads near your house. The next time you go, collect dirt there and then bring it home. So what you're doing is you're using the dirt that you collected from that crossroads to create a crossroads in your own house, because that dirt still has the energy from that crossroad and you can open a channel for it. With that though, please be very, very cautious. You don't want any hitchhikers or anything like that. Another example to this was when we got struck by that storm, and it ripped the branch off, and that branch got dug in the ground like a foot. It was about half a foot. So what did I do? Because of my partner, brilliantly abstract thinking outside of me, he goes, wait, can't you use this? And I was like, what do you mean? He goes, well, it took the force of that storm to rip this off and throw it into the ground. Psychokinetic energy. It still has it. So I have a jar of dirt that was hit by a fucking, like, I'm pretty sure 40, 50, 60 pound branch slammed into it. It holds that. I have leaves from that storm that were ripped off during the storm system that hit us. I have that psychokinetic energy. I can tap into it. The things that I'm still looking for now, one of my friends also sent me, the same friend from Pennsylvania, before she left here, one of her cedar tree got struck by lightning. If you can get your hands on wood that is struck by lightning, that is extremely powerful energy, because it holds the energy of lightning in it. And I love it. But yeah, things like that, collect. We collect rainwater. Why not collect the damage that's left over from the storms? Collect snow water. Collect snow water. If you got snow around, collect some snow, put it in your freezer, right? And then, especially if you live there to where it snows all the time, start collecting these things. Like, for example, during the summertime, if where you live, you go through a drought, the first storm after that drought, save the water to. Why? And how do I incorporate that into my practice? Okay, say you're going through a financial drought. What do you need? You need rain that broke that drought. So you're using that rain in your practice. Boom. To basically bring in financial rain. Rain can be extremely cleansing. With that being said as well, there's a such thing as war water. Properly made, you can place war water on your altar, and if it dramatically changes colors in a short amount of time, somebody is willingly fucking with you. I created something known as death water. Do I have it around here? No, it's back there in my altar. It's death water, and it is what it sounds like. It is literally water of death. I started it out by, the main mixture of it is tobacco water that was sitting outside in a jar that got really, 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 really stanky. And then we had a fly problem outside. So I'd made one of those little things where they crawl in and they get stuck. I poured some of that in there. So it's got multiple dead flies in it. And then I added some fresh chicken bones, a bunch of other shit, and now it's black. And I have to burp it because it's also a mixture of ionized water or oxidized water, which is what war water is. The only thing war water is, you're traditionally supposed to collect it from a swamp, but you can use any water and then get rusted nails and put them in there and some, I'm sorry, I just got distracted. I just learned that there is a hummingbird in the tree outside in our yard. Cool. But anyways, and then you put the iron in there. You put the ironized nettles in there, and you got to burp it so you can do that oxidation, and you have war water. If that war water, because normally war water has like that rustic orange color, if it goes from that to black overnight, somebody has throwing a hex at you. And then you can do so many things with that. There's a debate with hot foot powder. Hot foot powder can be used. The recipe that I know it as, and which foot would disagree with this, the recipe and what you're supposed to do with hot foot powder is, for one, traditionally you were supposed to get the dirt of the footprint or shoe print of the person you're trying to banish. You were supposed to collect that dirt, and then you get red pepper flakes, black pepper, red chili powder, and you mix that together, and then you write the person's full name, like all their information, down on a piece of paper. You burn that, you mix it with the ashes, and throw the ashes in with a mixture of this pepper mix, right? And then you're supposed to sprinkle it out to where that person and that person only will walk over it, and it basically will send their asses right out your life. But here's the issue with that. If anybody else does it, it could also affect them. If you did it, it could affect you. But you can also tweak that to where, say you have a physical object of that person, right? Make enough mixture, throw it in a satchel, pour that in there, and bury it, or throw it off a bridge that's flowing away from you. That's another thing that people don't talk about with the directions is when you're doing a banishing or something like that, if you have a river near you, obviously don't throw stuff that will pollute the water, but make something that can biodegrade by itself, and you're supposed to use the stream to throw it away from you. It's going away from you. Multiple things like this that's one of the reasons I do these lives is because there's only 60 seconds to 3 minutes, but these are things that people online are not talking about. And that's what I meant by if we don't change this, they're putting themselves in a box and they're just going around and around in that box versus opening your mind. And I didn't think of any of this until I started practicing, or I started looking into traditional witchcraft. I started looking into Southern Conjure, which is not closed, by the way. I started looking into all these other things, and I was like, holy shit, I myself have been putting myself in a box. Like, if you want to do a cord cutting, and you don't have candles, that's okay. Use red string. My first cord cutting I learned how to do was an energetic cord cutting, which is where you get to a certain type of meditation, and then you just imagine all these red strings that are tied to all these other people, and then you imagine just snip, snip, and then boom. And then, of course, back then I was Wiccan, so like when you cut it, I was saying, harm to none, just send your bad vibes back. Redo that and be like, you know what, bitch, boom, and send some extra energy to them. And it does work. It does work. And then also with that, always remember that if you do a cord cutting and you don't do everything in your physical life to cut that tie as well, it's not going to work. Like, I encourage people, if I'm doing a cord cutting for you, you need to make sure this person is blocked in every way, shape, or form that they possibly can. I also need to start carrying a pen with me so I can also make mental notes so I don't forget them, and of course I don't. But yes, I will make that video on retribution spells, and I will also make the list of YouTubers and post them in the comments as well. There we go. I think that was everything I said I was going to do. And then yeah, that's kind of it for today. I may start turning these into podcast episodes because I've been lacking on that a lot. But yeah. Also, with that being said, I want to post it. I may post a video about it. I want to do a Q&A. So, like, questions that y'all have been wanting to ask that I haven't made a video or haven't talked about, and then I'll write them all down and be able to make a list of it. I did get to make 2 candles the other day. I successfully made them. I slightly messed up the temperatures of it because when I poured it the second time, it slightly went in, like slightly sank a little bit. But they burn well. That is good. And I still have to work on the scents. The scents are not carrying as much as I want them to. But in general, I successfully made 2 candles. So that's cool. With that being said, the full moon is the 17th, and it is the wolf moon, I believe. Yeah, January wolf moon. And then what is coming up? I think Mercury Retrograde is coming up. With Mercury Retrograde coming up, holy shit, I have to remind y'all of this. Your technology. So Mercury is over technology, communication, shit like that. Last year, it didn't really affect us due to the element that it was in. This year, all the Mercury retrogrades that we're having are going to be in air signs, which means that will affect our technology. So be careful with your phones. Back your computers up. Back any essays or anything you're doing, back it up. With that also being said, sit back and watch for the drama to unfold on Witch Talk, because This is also going to be covering a lot of misinformation and that misinformation being corrected. So I'm already ready to see the shit show that is that. So yeah. But for anybody that did not know, I have a Discord. Totally join it if you can, because it's really a cool community. There's no miscommunications, there's no bitching, there's no drama. We all try to help each other out in every way that is. Seriously, y'all. But we have the Discord, we have my Instagram, Fire Lotus the Witch, and then Fire Lotus the Witch podcast. My Facebook page, Fire Lotus the Witch. TikTok, Fire Lotus the Witch, Fire Lotus 2.0. Yes, I have 2 accounts. And the Facebook group, which I gotta fix that to where I can send out links again. But yeah, that's gonna be it for today. Like I said, if y'all need any questions or anything like that, there's the platforms to reach out to me. If you don't use any of those platforms, comment on one of these videos, and I'll post my email, which should already be linked with this, actually. But that way you can message me through email as well. My inbox is always open on all platforms. There's no such thing as a dumb question. There is not. So please do not hesitate and or be afraid to ask. And I hope y'all enjoyed this. I know it's a lengthy one. It's going on 2 hours actually, but I could literally do this for hours. Now this week may get a little bit complex because what's today's date? Today is the 10th. On the 12th, I am supposed to be having a dual live on TikTok with my friend Kat, talking about vampiric stuff. So that's going to go. I believe we set the time for like 6:30 p.m. I'm not for sure on that. I got to check that to see. But yeah, and it's going to be interesting because it'll be like my 2nd or 3rd live on TikTok. But yeah, until then, I hope you're all enjoying Monday. I have to prep the spell. I've got to eat some lunch, and then I got to start getting the garbage and shit like that up there to the road because my neighbors fucked me last week. This is gonna be really weird and random to end this. I watch my neighbors to keep up with which day the trash runs because with my anxiety, I either miss it or like I put it out there. Anyways. Last week, I looked out before I went to sleep, and I'm like, okay, nobody's got trash cans out. All right, then trash day is Tuesday, or you put it out Tuesday, they pick it up Wednesday. No, it's not. You put it out Monday, and they pick it up Tuesday. So that screwed me up, so I got to bag all of that and take it up there. The kittens are doing good. They have been named, sadly, but I'll probably be getting rid of 2 of them. So I got to figure that out. But anyways, I'm rambling on now. Yeah. Thank y'all for everybody who's joined, who asked questions, who commented. Seriously, thank y'all. And yeah, I will see y'all tomorrow around the same time. Until then, peace.